Hello, friends. Welcome, Sailor Mason Happy Home. One of the things I do while I drone away on my computer for work all day long is listen to podcasts and stuff in the background. It's kind of breaks up the day and keeps you from going insane. And I've been listening to this podcast called the Surround Podcast, and it's a debate forum where they'll take one person of one thought or place in the world, and they surround them with 20 to 25 people that have the complete opposite, almost extreme beliefs or way of life. For example, they had an anti-trans individual surrounded by 25 trans people. They have Democrats surrounded by extreme Republicans, so on. And I've been listening to this one by this child named Dean Withers. He's 19 years old, so he's a child to me. And he was talking about how Trump is a racist. And he's a racist because back in the 70s, we're talking 50 plus years ago, Trump had a lot of real estate, which of course he always has. His family is generational real estate. And during that time, one of his landlords claimed that he had been instructed by Donald Trump to not rent apartments to people of color, black people. And the DOJ at the time went after Trump, and Trump not only acknowledged, okay, so I'm not going to deny this crap is happening, and I will not do this anymore. He put this in writing. He said this in front of, judicial bodies, and he basically acknowledged that this was going on and that he will stop it. And now that he's become president, he's done a lot for communities of color and support. And, before you start screaming about immigration, remember that illegal immigrants, regardless of the color of their skin or, whatever, if they're illegal, they're taking away a job, a house, and a spot for an immigrant who legitimately needs to leave their home and comes here through the lawful channels. So it's not fair, okay? It's like when you go into Walmart, you have to pay $300 for your groceries, but some asshole goes and steals $60 worth of steak and gets away with it. How is that fair? And of course, we know in the case of retail, that is not, you cannot reclaim that. You cannot make an insurance claim and recoup the money. Billions and billions and billions a year are lost to shoplifting. And we, the consumers that actually follow the law and pay for our purchases, we have to pay higher prices because of that. So, it's not fair. So if anybody wants to start screaming that the immigration, ICE, and all of this has to do with racism, it doesn't. You need to really, really look at the definition of racism, because back in the 70s, people were different, and that's no excuse, but we grow and we evolve socially as well as economically and physically and emotionally through the years. And Trump was a different person in the 70s, and we're learning a lot about him from that time. But, I got to tell you, one incident from 50 plus years ago that was discovered, and when he was caught or put on the hot seat, he admitted it, and he's been making amends ever since. And he vowed not to do that again. He acknowledged what he was doing was wrong, and he vowed not to do it again. And you know what that says about him? It doesn't say that he's racist. It says that he's a human being. A human being from a whole different world than you and I could possibly ever imagine. You and I, who schlep through 40-hour ball and chain jobs every day of our lives, who can't look forward to retirement because we live paycheck to paycheck. We could never, never understand or meet on a level playing field. Zillionaires whose parents and grandparents and great-grandparents were zillionaires and came over and became these tycoons and barons. We can't. So he comes from a different world, and that's no excuse. There's no excuse for racism, but if somebody is committing racism and they're called on it and they're caught on it, And they not only openly admit it, but they admit it in writing. And they promise and vow to never do that again. And he hasn't. I think he should get a gold star for that, and not a check mark in the racist box, especially when Joe Biden, through 4 grueling years, kept making comments, oh, corn pop and growing up in the hood, and if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, and all of these disgusting and vile comments and statements that he made about black individuals, about people of color. And yet the Democrats, they just conveniently were deaf during those statements that he never acknowledged were wrong, that he never asked forgiveness for, that he never made amends for. He is a racist elitist, not Trump. And now that Trump is in office and he has power, if he was a racist, he would do something to keep people down and, lift up white people and, keep everybody else down. But he hasn't. He's been doing quite a bit. So, young man, child, go get your milk money, get your little backpack and get on the yellow bus and go back to kindergarten, and understand that you can't hold somebody's life hostage for one tiny little error. And yeah, it was a big error back then. I get it. I couldn't imagine how I would feel if I was turned down for something because of the color of my skin. But I have been a DEI hire, and it was the worst experience of my life. And I didn't know I was a DEI hire until I was told by this horrible monster that I worked with that I was. And that affected me deeply on a mental and emotional level. And I can't imagine what it might have been like to be turned down for, an apartment simply because of the color of your skin. And, shame on him and everybody that did that back in the 70s. But we're talking 50 plus years ago. And he did acknowledge his wrongdoing, and he made amends. And I think after that, you just forgive and forget and you move on. And the one that I can't forgive is Joe Biden. So love you all. Thank you. And until next time, do good and be good.